This is just a good bit of good news. This was on the 6th, so I guess it was last Friday night. Judge orders Oklahoma to reinstate federal pandemic unemployment benefit program that Kevin Stitt withdrew from. And so, yeah, just a good thing.
It's great that it happened, but again, with the just complete lack of a political price, there was literally no downside other than like a few fucking dickheads who refuse to pay people a living wage, struggling to find labor. Like that was, and again, the math wasn't that a substantial number of people were just sitting there waiting on their unemployment checks. A lot of people, it just was a matter. It was numbers, like pay them more. But even the like I make more on unemployment crowd was not nearly as large as people said they were. That crowd was not as big as they said it was, and there was nothing but downside to this, except for like a few of like Kevin Stitt's friends, right? And like the fucking absurdity of modern conservative thought. But like this is costing the state millions of dollars while we're coming out of a pandemic. Like the downside to rejecting free money is massive. Right?
So
like,
huge.
Not free money from the feds. Like the downside to that is he literally cost our state hundreds of millions of dollars to appease a couple of his friends and dickhead modern conservatism. So it's great.
I mean, that was one of the big finds of the frontier last summer. Is like they were planning in like April, I think, May, to try and cut unemployment benefits because they were that worried that people would benefit. I mean, it is so disgusting and disturbing. And of course, now, like if you look at the economic data, there is almost no evidence to show that that's a driver of keeping people out of the labor force. Like it just isn't. Like there's not a lot of evidence to support that. And so, but cool, let's go on our gut reaction.
Shout out to the judge for telling Kevin to go fuck himself. So
it was good. And in other judicial news, the Oklahoma Court of Criminal Appeals rules 4-0 that McGirt does not apply retroactively to convictions that were final when it was decided, overruling any previous statement to the contrary. I would be very curious if you had a chance to look at this and your legal take.
I did, and it's very interesting because weird story, I have some experience, not on the McGirt side of another case, I'll get into that. So essentially, the Court of Criminal Appeals is saying any case that was finalized at McGirt, which is hundreds of cases, thousands of cases, McGirt doesn't apply retroactively. So what that means is if an indigenous person was convicted by the state of Oklahoma of a crime on indigenous land, McGirt doesn't apply prior to McGirt being issued.
But real quick clarifying question though, isn't the guy though that the original McGirt, like, wasn't his conviction many, many years ago? I mean,
yes, it was like 99. I'm getting to that, right?
Okay, sorry.
Yes. So, second thing is the Oklahoma Court of Criminal Appeals are just not bright lawyers. Like I'm a person of, like, I think judges should be erudite. I think it's good. I'm one of the few people who holds the legal profession in high esteem. Like, if you are a judge, Court of Criminal Appeals, especially Court of Criminal Appeals, but if you are just a state judge, like, you should be an erudite. You should be well read on all elements of the law. You should be able to get to wherever you want to go, not politically, at least in some sort of like with strong legal reasoning and writing. The Court of Criminal Appeals, and I practice criminal defense law, and the decisions they write are just shit. This decision is shit. And I tell you, it's shit in the like most basic ways, one of the most basic and fundamental elements. Part of something cited like almost ad nauseum in the fucking opinion is victims. Victims. This may sound kind of crass and cruel to you, but here's just the reality of it. If you are arrested and charged with a crime, it will not say if Nick went over here and steal my shit, it will not say Ron Jones versus Nick Singer in a criminal matter. It will say the state of Oklahoma versus Nick Singer. Right? It is like when you think about victims, and this is just like the shitty evolution of criminal law. It isn't the victim versus this individual. It is the state of Oklahoma. The state of Oklahoma, way too much with martial law and just like shitty prosecutors, incorporates victims' opinions and feelings in it too much. But that's not basic law. Like the basic law is they protect the state, and so they cite victims over and over again. It's very light on law, and there's a reason for that. So when I was in law school, we worked on the retroactivity of Miller v. Alabama in the state of Illinois. So Miller v. Alabama was the case that the Supreme Court decided that you could not mandatory life without parole for juveniles is unconstitutional. You can give them life without parole, but it cannot be mandatory, right? So we had a lengthy argument with the state of Illinois, I went to law school in Chicago, as to whether or not to apply that retroactively, right? So I actually have some experience on the how this is going to, well, at least in Illinois, not in Oklahoma. So the thing is, the state of Oklahoma made that decision. It'll probably be appealed back to the Supreme Court. That's how this is going to play out. The state of Oklahoma in a 4-0 decision, completely like light on legal analysis as they tend to be, and heavy on cultural grievances and bullshit. Has decided that it's not retroactive, but it'll be appealed probably back to the Supreme Court, and they will make the decision as to whether or not it's retroactive. But the state of Oklahoma.
How would they not though? If the original case was from '99, like.
So yeah, that's what will be in the fucking briefs to the Supreme Court. And it's like, well, actually, the fucking case you got from McGirt was from '99 and was decided prior to McGirt. Clearly, that's how it got. That was the procedure that got it to the fucking Supreme Court. If it hadn't been decided before McGirt, then right, it would. Yeah, I get it. But it's not. But that is more of a. But that being said, it's not that simplistic. I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't know what the Oklahoma standards are for that, but it's very procedural. I don't know I know the Illinois procedures as to how they apply retroactivity. I don't know the Oklahoma laws as to how they apply the retroactivity. So I don't know. This was such a substantial and significant case for the state of Oklahoma. And the fucking Supreme Court is so politicized, the United States Supreme Court, but Neil Gorsuch fucking wrote it. So this is one of those things where I don't have a bet for you. And the Supreme Court generally is pretty anti applying applying criminal decisions like retroactive. There was it's eluding me, but there was some recent decision that was really I think applying to juveniles. It wasn't applied retroactive, and the Supreme Court said no, it's not retroactive. So I have no idea how this is going to play out. I know it'll be appealed up to the Supreme Court though.
Yeah, I know in Oklahoma, and I can't remember now the exact mechanics of it, but I know that criminal justice reformers have tried to get retroactivity into some of our laws, and it sounded like it was just language you could slip in to say that just move the date back, and that's perhaps constitutional. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's different from it's a lot different from the retroactive passing of law and a retroactive of a legal decision, right? So
okay.
like a passing of law, then you kind of get into like other elements to be considered to say is retroactive, right? Because a lot of that, around, especially in the criminal field, it's a really high standard for laws to be considered retroactive because there's a sense of finality, and you don't, especially, well, it's unconstitutional to say to apply retroactively and charge people for retroactive behavior, but it's also because of the high bar of quote unquote final criminal cases and essentially they don't want to be flooded with appeals. Laws generally aren't applied retroactively, but a legal decision generally, and I don't know Oklahoma's law, a legal decision and the retroactivity of that probably has different standards than retroactivity of an actual law. And the courts have been fucking flooded with appeals on this. Right. And because it's not a national decision, and let's be frank, the Supreme Court probably don't really give two fucks about Oklahoma. They may say, no, fuck y'all. Right? Like the thing about Miller v. Alabama, it applied to every state. Right? This pretty much only apply. I mean, I guess the McGirt, I'm not sure how McGirt is affected like other states with like large tribal land,
like Arizona or somewhere.
Yeah, but this is not one of those things where it affects like the entire country in that way. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I just thought that the thing that Dylan posted there, the two things, the out of context clips of that just read so poorly to me. I mean, in the sense of like, it was just like, we just have to be able to punish people. Like, that's just,
No,
I mean,
that's
you're just taking away our ability to punish.
that's how the Court of Criminal Appeals here in Oklahoma feel like, and some of the decisions, it's just like it's a lack of legal reasoning. It's just like we decided this, and so yeah, it's like again, I tell you all the time, the only legal canon is that this is all bullshit. I know I'm going to decide, and I'm going to work my way back from my decision with some legal reasoning I can piece together. Yeah. They don't even try to piece it together. Right? Like there are literally some decisions they'll just cite another state that did it. I'm like, bro, like what in the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, the efforts I know about locally were about trying to make 780 retroactively, which was one that decriminalized simple possession of drugs and changed the thresholds for property crimes, nonviolent stuff. I mean, just things that we're locking up tons and tons of people for that don't make any sense, and just trying to say like, hey, I think the way they were trying to do it is like they just wanted to create a process by which someone could appeal their conviction. Like it was just like they wanted to make it retroactive, but it still had to go through like a lot of hoops. And it was like, no, can't even do that in some cases. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see where this goes. We'll try to keep on it. But yeah, I'm a big fan of retroactivity. I mean, especially. I mean, just given how bad our incarceration problem is and how many people are just very unjustly being held.
Any legitimate criminal appeals about this matter, like the quote unquote, all of these, there should be no citation to the victims. It's a very procedural issue, right? Like, and just, I mean, I'm sorry, guys. I'm just like, again, I hold the legal profession to high standards, and I'm just annoyed by like just lazy, dumb lawyers and judges. Like, you should fucking know what you're doing if you are a judge. This is not some political crusade. You should have respect enough for the law to write legitimate opinions that aren't cultural grievances. Because that's a disrespect to the occupation that I hold dear and whatever. Fuck them. But go ahead.
Well, no, I mean, it's like, I mean, Stitt and the DA's whole argument is like, oh, this is about victims and about that. And it's like, well, I mean, they're going through the federal system. It's not like these people are just getting released out into the wild. There is a process.
Like, and I mean, that's a great political talking point. But if you're a judge, it's not about victims. It's about the legal process, and that's the state versus this person.
Yeah.